morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're watching us. My name is Derek Wesley, and this is Youth Impact. Youth Impact is a youth program that is brought to you by Success Africa, a Pan-African media organization that focuses on the success of the youth from around the globe. We tackle tough issues that are affecting the youth, we discuss awkward moments that the youth have been through, and hopefully we'll share a few laughters along the way. Mental health is a global challenge that is affecting the youths. Success Africa had an opportunity to go out to the streets, and this is what our youth had to say.
Mental health is the well-being of a psychological and emotional state of a person.
Mental health, according to me, it's an emotional and psychological well-being of someone's mind.
According to me, mental health is the ability to learn, to feel and express a range of negative and positive emotions.
I've ever encountered a mental health challenge. This was after my graduation. I was in search of a job and I couldn't find any. So that's when I got into depression for lack of employment.
Okay, yes, I have experienced it, and it was so hard to tackle. I did not know where to get help.
Yeah, I have experienced mental issues before, and what I did to overcome the problem is that I looked for a person who is experienced, a person who is older than me, who gave me the ideas on how to overcome it.
My advice to any youths that are undergoing mental health issues, first of all, they have to seek guidance from elders. Then it's best for anyone in such a state to seek spiritual guidance, because we are spiritual human beings and we need guidance at any stage to help us overcome any issues that we are encountering.
For me, I would really like to tell the youths out there, if you have any problem and it's hard for you to tackle it, find an elder person or someone that you trust most to guide you on how to go about it. Let's not haste with our first decisions that we've got. Let's try and trust our elders.
When you are having mental health problems, so the choices that you do make, they do matter. So those small choices that you make, it is what they define you. So if you make a choice, it becomes a habit, and then it becomes your identity, who you are, and then later it will become your nature.
On set today is Stacy Mbuta, a young professional who will help us to talk more about mental health. Stacy, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us more. Who is Stacy professionally? What does she do? And of course, why you're looking this good in February.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Stacy Mbuta. I am founder of an organization called You Are Enough. It's an organization that runs awareness on mental health issues in a bid to reduce on the suicide cases, especially among young people, youths, which is the bracket. We look at the bracket of between 16 and 30 because those are the most majority group that is affected by these issues, and also men, because men are very vulnerable to this. So that is the demographic of what we do.
Okay. What are some of the most relatable causes of mental health? Because in Kenya, for example, when I hear of mental health, what crosses my mind is Mathare Mental Hospital. Trust me, it's not a place you'd want to end up. So what are some of the most relatable causes of mental health?
So mental health, maybe to just expound on the mental health issues, and say a bit more about it so that someone can really understand what we really are talking about, because there are so many issues that come with mental disorders that affect one's mental health. Mental health touches on one's behavioral, one's emotional, how one expresses themselves emotionally, how they behave, how they respond towards things. It is not just an issue of the mind. It is not just an issue in the head. It's an issue that affects the entire you. It is like the neck that connects your head to the body. So whatever affects here, it affects
your entire personality.
So you realize that when one is having a mental ill health, not mental illness, a mental ill health, that someone is not mentally stable because of maybe a trigger, a situation they are going through, an issue they went through that is affecting them, a trauma or some stress kind of, you realize they're not able to react normally, they're not able to behave normally, they're not able to express how they feel deep down. So the emotional bit is affected. And in the long run, the interpersonal, how they relate with people, it is also affected. So instead of someone responding to situations, they would tend to react.
To react instead.
Yeah. So instead of responding to a situation, they react.
So do we have different types of mental issues? Because I remember I was going through an article, and surprisingly enough, I figured out that eating can also be considered a mental disorder.
Yeah.
So what are some of the types of mental disorders, so that we are able to know exactly at what point we are suffering from mental disorder, so that I don't skip breakfast thinking that I'm mentally disabled?
Yeah, so there are so many mental issues ranging from stress. Stress is categorized into two: these hypostress and hyperstress. Hypostress is the normal stress. The normal stress that makes you to wake up in the morning and go out there, look for money because you need food. There's some kind of pressure that is hypostress. That stress that makes you work so hard to meet deadlines. It is the positive
The
stress,
normal kind of
the normal
stress.
stress, which is positive stress. Then there is the hyperstress. Hyperstress is comes in when one is trying to fix things and they are stretching beyond where they can manage.
Or that happens when you miss out on your alarm. Okay,
Not really. That is within one's control, you know. So hyperstress is like you're trying to put something in control, but it is getting out of hand. So it becomes hyperstress because it makes you become nervous, become anxious. It stresses your mind. That is hyperstress. When that is not managed, it leads to the next condition, which is very common. So the condition number one is stress, the hyperstress. It's the necessary stress, which is very important for life. It keeps one going, it keeps one ambitious. It is the one that drives one's ambition. If you do not have the hypostress, then you become less ambitious because there's nothing that is pushing you to become better every day. You're not competing with the person that you were yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, so you do not look forward to anything better. You don't want to try anything new. When there is no hypostress, you tend to stagnate in a way.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to hyperstress, you need help because this is something that is getting out of hand. So when that is not addressed, you find that it goes to now the next condition, which is depression. So when things have gotten out of hand and you've not expressed yourself to someone, expressing your emotions, expressing the need that you feel you have, seeking for help, seeking for advice to know how to manage this, then it goes to depression now, which is the other condition. Depression is basically someone has lost touch with reality, someone losing touch with the emotions, someone is not able to control how they behave, how they react, because now things have gotten out of hand. They don't know what to do.
You're living in your own world.
Yes, you're living in your own world. You do not want to talk about what you're going through because you feel that people will judge me. Maybe people have seen me as that person who is very strong. How will they take me?
Yeah.
People have always looked up to me. What will they say? Maybe you've lost your job and that is what you were identifying with because especially for men identify with what they do.
Yeah, sure.
So when someone loses their job, it becomes a source of stress because it is worry, that worrying of how am I going to survive? Worry is the one that feeds the stress, the hyper stress.
So as a youth now, because youth is our business, how do I realize that I am already out of line and I'm heading toward the abnormal kind of stress so that I'm able to come back in line?
One, it affects how you think. You start becoming irrational. There's a way you are thinking about something, then now you're full of negativity. You know, you can feel it when you're full of negativity. And then you feel withdrawn. There's that withdrawal aspect. You feel withdrawn, you don't want anyone near you. You feel there's a lot of pressure inside you, you're confused, comes with a lot of confusion. At that point, if you do not seek for help, it will take another person to see what you're going through.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things that happen when one is going through that process of sinking into depression. There are so many things, most of them are you can actually see. Someone else can actually see. So if you feel that something is getting out of hand, you've tried and it's not working, and you're feeling it is draining you emotionally, it is draining you physically, it is affecting your mood, it is affecting even your eating,
your daily
appetite,
habits,
or you're eating too much, or there are those habits that you see they are changing. This is not you. You don't even feel like taking a shower. A simple thing like
taking
a
a shower.
shower. You're not taking care of yourself. You are suffering from low moods all the time. You feel sad. You feel like you don't want anyone close to you.
So basically,
And
you've
tell
lost
you there's
touch
a
for
problem.
every normal thing you used
Yes,
to do
yes,
before.
You've now started accommodating abnormality as normality.
Okay.
That is the point. Now you're supposed to look for a professional or talk to someone before someone looks at you and says that there's actually a problem with you, because that would be a deeper
So you're
level
supposed to
of
be your own doctor.
your
Be
own
the first
doctor.
person to identify the
Listen to
problem.
yourself, listen to your body, listen to your mind. Is this how I think? Is this for me that I have been? Why am I full of negativity? Why am I suddenly feeling so sad? Why am I having these low moods, fluctuations of moods? Why is it that all of a sudden I'm feeling lazy? I just want to be asleep. I just want to lay somewhere. Why am I feeling isolated? Something is wrong.
Yeah.
So at that point,
you know that you're already on the wrong side.
Yes, you know that you're not on the right side.
Okay, surprisingly enough, I've grown up knowing that crying is one of the best ways to relieve stress. But according to our research, I noticed that ladies have nearly twice as much a chance of getting depressed than men. Yet men prefer to keep it to themselves. But I've known that the best cure to mental health is crying. But teenage girls, they cry, but still they're under an attack for mental health and depression. So why is this happening? Is it a myth? Getting to know about mental health from a professional's perspective is different from getting to know about it out in the street. So what is happening to our teenage girls? Why are we having very many girls falling into depression?
One is at the age of teenage is a very, I would say, very sensitive age, because one, they are seeking for identity. They are not children. They are not adults. So they are in between there. At one point, they want to be treated as children. At another time, they want to be treated as
an adult.
adults. Again, there are those changes that are happening in their bodies, which least contribute to this thing. They are the last thing that contribute to this. So most of the times, it's you could find them struggling with the issues from family that they are going through, because if they don't find a supporting system
from the family
where they come from to help them go through the teenagehood successfully, it will now stress them, because they don't know how to behave. They don't know how to behave. It is that search of identity. It may seem like a very small thing, but to them it's
very huge,
because they're expressing themselves at one point as children. They are rebuked. You're now big enough. You're supposed to be an adult. The next minute, they're expressing themselves as an adult. They are being rebuked. You're still a kid. You're still a child. You're below 20, you're below 18, you're still a child. So that search of identity, it causes a lot of stress to them. Others you'll find they are exposed to maybe some trauma. You saw that clip that was going around for someone, I think it was in Turkana or somewhere. A child was being battered. You can be sure it will take them. That was a teenager. It will take that girl a lot of work to be done on them to remove that, to deal with that trauma.
To get back to normal.
Yeah. If that is not really dealt with in a very sensitive way, it can cause that girl to fall into depression and be suicidal. So most of these girls need a safe space. They've not found a safe space where they can be nurtured at their age, understood. If you want to express yourself as a child, we understand. You're seeking identity, you're looking for that identity because they are teenagers. This is an age where they don't belong. They don't belong there. They don't belong.
So they are left in the middle.
Yes. So
Now it's a good explanation. I think we have understood how the difference. But one thing I need the men out there, especially people of my own standards, to understand. Are we supposed to start crying when we are having problems?
You also mentioned that the rate at which girls are affected is higher than the boys.
Than the boys.
Because you see, women naturally are
Emotional
beings.
beings.
Into details. So you do a very simple thing, a very petty thing to a girl, they will take it personal. You know?
Yeah.
And it will cause a lot of stress to them. You'll do the same thing to a boy, they will brush it off, and the next minute you're buddies. So they take it, girls absorb the emotional. Women are emotional.
We call it brocode.
Yeah. Girls are emotional. Men are physical. That is why you find when a man is going through a stressful situation, they would, ikienda sana into depression, you'd find someone harming themselves, cutting themselves because they want to identify with that pain. You know, girls are emotional. And you realize that the frequency at which mental issues are affecting girls, it's higher than for men. But at the same rate, the rate at which the severity is the severity of mental health issues to girls is less
as compared to the male. Actually, most male, they go to the extent of suicide.
Yes, to men it is very high. In as much as the frequency is low, so meaning there's a less number of boy child out there being affected by mental health issues. But at a very severe.
If it happens, it's so intense.
Because men are not emotional. They're not able to express how they feel from within. They don't want to talk about it. I hear some of these boys during circumcision, they are told, you have to manner. You just have to manner. As a man, you're not born to cry. Yes, you're not born to cry. You suck it up. Suck it up as a man, you know. So that boy, when he's told like that, in let's say he's in class 7 or class 8, this person will not be able. They have already been fed with this information. This means
the society requires so much from men.
So much expectation from you, mother. Suck it up, move on. You can't cry.
Bleed.
You cannot talking about your weakness.
No matter what happens, you keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
So most of the youth are technically under the care of parents, and because you've mentioned that most of these challenges, they happen because of your foundation and the background that you have come from. What are some of the things that parents are supposed to do to help the youths so that we are able to understand ourselves and they also understand us? Like you've mentioned, girls, teenagers are right in the middle. We do not know whether we are adults, in as much as sometimes you want to be treated as such. We do not know whether we are kids, in as much as you want to be treated as such when you are being bought for gifts and all that. So what are some of the things that our parents are supposed to do so that they also understand us, so that when we ask for things from them, when we explain to them, they do not see us as being rebellious?
As a parent, you're supposed to cultivate that relationship with your child. And it starts even before the teenage, the preteen. You cultivate that from the time that child is born, create that relationship. By the time they get to teenage, you're already friends. You're a parent, but you're a friend. So that this child can express themselves freely. They can tell you how they feel. They can tell you how they want you to treat them. They can tell you how they feel when you treat them in a certain way. And that way it creates a safe space for them to express themselves. They know that they have someone to run to who is their parent. When they are beaten by stress out there, when they are faced with challenges, changes in their bodies, they don't know who to turn to. At least they know they can turn to their parent. So as a parent, we have a responsibility of creating that safe space for them. That relationship, cultivating that relationship with your child. Get to know when something changes about them, how they react. And
you're the first person to realize.
Yes, be the first person because of that relationship that has brought you together. You can realize when they are changing, there's a change in behavior, there's a change in attitude, when there's a change in how they are taking corrections, how they are taking responsibility in the house. So you'll be able to note that change. But if there's no relationship between the parent and the child, the teenage, it becomes a problem.
So how easy is it for a youth in distress to get professional help, which is affordable to them, so that we get somewhere we can always run to?
So we have psychologists and therapists available in our country, but the services are quite few. We have very few service providers in the market. But we have those places that one can comfortably walk into, like Mother Mental Hospital. I don't know why people have an issue with going there.
Scared.
But we have psychologists, therapists seated there. You can approach them at very affordable fee. Chiromo, they do the same. These are government institutions. You can always walk in there. And if it's this youth who is employed and working, the insurance companies nowadays are offering that
As part of
the cover.
so actually it can be covered.
It can be covered. It is covered.
Okay.
You just need to know to confirm with your service provider, the insurer, who is on their panel. Then they give you a list, you choose and go. We have public institutions for this, and we have private. We also have private people who offer these services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now tell us, maybe, thank you so much for the insight on mental health. I believe the conversation has been worthwhile. Now tell us one thing about your organization, because we understand that you're doing the same thing in line to mental health. So you can just give us a parting shot of what you guys do.
So we create awareness on mental health, and what we're looking forward to, or what we really desire to see happening, is having people accepting to be vulnerable enough to talk about what they are going through. Come out. If you have an issue that you feel it's pressing and you need help, come out, talk about it, get a confidence, talk about it, don't keep it to yourself. So we are looking forward to a time when mental health will not be something that cannot be talked about publicly, cannot be looked at as a curse or as something that is of shame. We are looking forward to a time when everyone will be comfortable talking about their issues, whether with a confidant or a professional. If you feel that your issues are too sensitive, too intense, get a professional, talk to them, but do not keep them to yourself. Health is not health without mental health. If you've lost it in mental health, you've lost it all. So take care of yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much, Stacy, for joining us. The discussion has been quite insightful, and I believe from today, all the youths have gotten all the knowledge that they need to get from you. Thank you. So in our Youth of the Week segment, we are taking a look at Kelvin Karanja, who is a capsicum farmer.
I had never thought that I could farm in my life, but because I used to work a corporate job before. So when I left, I happened to visit someone's farm around this area. And so having a conversation with him, I realized that farming is one of the things that, as a young person I can do to just make some extra income for myself and my family. So currently I'm doing capsicum farming. I have concentrated on one crop. The reason I've done that is because, so when I was doing my piloting, I was able to tell all the challenges that come with the crop. And by challenges, I mean the pesticides, so how the weather patterns affect the crop. And hence I was like, if I'm going to do this large scale, I'd rather concentrate on a crop which I know how to grow, yes, and which I'm sure of the market. I did the project in phases, so that the profits I realized from one phase of the project, I was able to now scale up the project as I went along, because as you can tell, it's a venture that's capital intensive. So that time I was also very risk averse, so I did not want to take a big risk. So I started farming on a very small piece of land, actually an 80 by 30 greenhouse, just to test the market and also to just pilot everything that I was going to do. But then when I did it, it went quite well. I was quite surprised because it was also the COVID year. But the funny thing, my demand was at an all-time high. So like a basic principle of life, high risk, high return. So with farming, pests are a big challenge. So you have to keep spraying your crops with pesticides just to ensure that your crops don't suffer major attacks and hence affect your yields. The other challenges might be like the harsh weather. So like last year, the weather conditions were not very favorable because it was extremely cold. And you see capsicum and all pepper plants, because it's in the family of pepper plants, they do well when there is hot weather. So if you look at the current statistics world over globally, the world needs to produce 7 times the number of food it's producing currently for there to be food security. So it goes without saying that food business is one of the businesses that's going to be there for a long time to come. But over and above the profits, there are very many other advantages that come, or many other benefits that myself have experienced. So one of the things is being able to also help out the community, because you see I have employees in the farm. These are people with families to feed, and it's one of the things that gives me great joy, other than making the profit, that I'm also able to help someone else make a shilling and be able to fend for their family. The market is good. I also don't advertise, but you know, farming is one of those things that's very dependent on referrals. So you find that you sell to one client who has another pool of other customers that they refer to you. So that's how I've been able to grow my business. I do training, which I charge at a small fee, of course, to be able to cater for some small expenses here and there. Yes, so anyone who's willing to learn about capsicum farming, I'm more than willing to be able to help, because you see, information is not something that you can deny someone. I know culturally we've been conditioned to think that farming is one of the things that's done by either retired people or people in their latter stages of life. But I would encourage any young people to take up farming, because even as our country is right now, there needs to be more food security. And at the same time, it's one of the ventures that's going to create employment, not just for yourself, but also for the community around you. Yeah, so it comes with a double benefit. Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to Youth Impact. Join us again next time as we continue to explore and to discuss issues that matter most to the youths. Until then, stay curious and keep making a difference. My name is Derek Wesley.